All right, all right, all right. Anthony from AMG 4K. Let's jump into the Nikon D750 full boat. If you don't mind, we got Santa on the right. Grab a drink, your favorite beverage, whatever it is, whatever time you're watching this, wherever in the world, welcome. I am Anthony. This channel is AMG 4K. We're filming in 4K on the Panasonic GH4 with the Olympus. What is this? The 25 1.8? Yeah, 25 1.8. So what you're looking at on screen now is the first icon on the top left in yellow is the playback menu, and this is what you'll see when you turn your camera on for the first time. So as we scroll through the menus, take notes, grab your Nikon D750, set it up this way if you like. If not, pick what you like, and then let's just move on. Okay. So what we have here, if you scroll to the right, is your playback folder, the name Nikon ND750, which makes sense. Your playback options. Now your image review is going to be off. So that means when you take a picture, it's not going to show up. So that makes no sense, right? So let's turn that on so we can see our images as we take them, and we can see if we have our exposures properly. So pretty much in the playback menu, you really don't need to do too much with this. So just turn your image review on. So if you press over on your left hand on your four-way dial here, you can scroll down and go into your photo shooting menu. A couple of important items in here that you want to make adjustments to as well. You want to do your filing name. You could change this to whatever you want. You could change it, you know, you keep it your initials. I can make it AMG if I wanted, but I will keep it just like this for now. And we'll go out of it. We'll move the menu and go back out of that. So once you're in your filing name, you move out. You can go in the role played by card in slot 2. So because you have two SD card slots on the right hand side of the Nikon D750, you can choose what you'd like each card to do. So if you want the second card to be an overflow, that's great, or you can do backup, or you can shoot RAW and have JPEG be slot 2, which is helpful if that's what you'd like to do. I usually shoot overflow unless I'm shooting something very, very, very important. Well, I'll back up my each picture onto the other SD card. So right now we'll just pick overflow, but you pick what you would like for you. If you hit the question mark, you'll get an option, not an option, and more of a description of the card in slot 2 will be used to record images when the card in slot 1 is full. Well, that's great. Let's see what happens if we hit question mark here. Same thing, backup. All pictures recorded to the card in one slot are also recorded to the card in the other slot. So as you pick the one, some of the Nikon menus, the question mark will work. Not in every item, but in a lot of the items. So just a question mark is a good tip to know. Let's go back into overflow and press OK. Image quality, very important. You know, I'm shooting RAW, so I pick RAW. If you want to choose JPEG, you can pick your JPEGs. And as when you pick your RAW file, you can see on the top screen, right now I have, let's put that in, 588 images. Let's see what happens when I go into JPEG, how it jumps. So let's go into JPEG, JPEG normal. Now look at it, 2.7 thousand. Wow. So you can see how much more data the RAW files are going to take when you're using RAW. Let's go back into NEF RAW. Okay, so that's image quality. Image area, where you can choose FX, DX, or 1.2 crop. I usually keep everything in FX unless I'm shooting something that I want to use the extra. The 120 becomes a 180. Multiplied by 1 times when I do the multiplication from 120 times 1.5. So sometimes I'll do that, but not all the time. I'll keep it in FX. I did notice I put the Sigma 18 to 35 1.8 on here the other day at Unique Photo in Fairfield, and it automatically went into crop mode right off the bat. So that was pretty cool because that's for a crop censored camera. I wish it was for full frame, but unfortunately, shooting with an 18 to 35 1.8 zoom and full frame doesn't seem like anything I can do right now or we can do. JPEG compression. Let's see, optimal quality. If you hit the question mark, priority is given to the image quality. File sizes may differ. Well, that's just lovely. Going down, we go into white balance. This is where you can pick your white balance. There's two autos. Well, 1 and 2, depending on, you choose to see, you can choose which one you like best. When you're shooting in RAW, you can just keep it in normal. When I'm shooting downstairs and using the camera with the flow light, I actually moved this up to 5500K, and I'm actually able to see how I did that. You could choose, so if you're in your options, just scroll down, color temperature, move to the right. Then you can pick the temperature of the bulbs that you're in. So these are 5500K, so I could just choose that. But we'll go back into what I like to call easy mode. Sorry, we're just ripping through here. White balance will go back into auto. That's okay. Set picture control, also very important to know. This is where you can actually pick the picture style that you want to use. Standard, so if you hit OK and standard, that'll be your option. If you hit to the right, you could actually go in and adjust each one. You could bring the sharpening up, or sharpening down, or sharpening even. You can bring the clarity down. You could bring it all zeros and click OK. And once you do that, you'll see the little asterisk here, which will give you the indication that, hey, you've changed something. You've updated something. You've done something different from what we made in Nikon, and we want to let you know that. So you have standard, you have neutral, you have vivid, monochrome, which is your black and white, your portrait, landscape, and your flat. I'll be honest with you, I never use vivid. I play around with monochrome, never use portrait, never use landscape. Flat I'll use from time to time, but you could actually keep it in standard, neutral, or flat and shoot in RAW. That's my personal opinion. Color space, sRGB versus Adobe RGB. See, no question mark. It doesn't really do anything. But I think if you need a larger color palette, you can choose Adobe RGB. If you're going to do larger printing, or printing you need Adobe colors, you can just choose our sRGB to begin with, unless there's another reason to choose Adobe RGB. Active delighting I have off. And when I shoot RAW, I can actually pull a lot of things out of the shadows. So I let my I'll be the creator of that, and leave me to be the creator of what I want to do. I'll let the camera shoot as intended at 24 megapixels, and I will handle the rest. So I'll keep that off for now. I go down to vignette control. I keep that off. Auto distortion control is off. Long exposure, noise reduction is off. High ISO noise reduction is off. ISO sensitivity settings, here's a good one. I don't know why they buried it down here, but it is what it is. So you can choose your auto ISO sensitivity control when it's on. So let's turn that on. And to do that, we'll click OK. We'll go over here. Well, I'm going to do it a different way. Let's go out. So let's hit the ISO button here, and then we'll hit the rocker dial in the front command dial, and we'll switch that. See what happens when I move the front dial here and hold down ISO? Now auto ISO is on. So if I go back into where I was, you'll see everything here has changed. So I could change the maximum sensitivity to be 6400, all the way up to high 7, which I don't think anybody will ever actually do. Or you can go down as low as you would like. So let's keep it conservative. Let's keep it 3200. And you can also change the minimum shutter speed, which is a nice feature to have as well. So let's click OK, and we'll move on from here. Remote control for the ML-L3 I have off. Let's see if there's a question mark for that. Choose how the camera behaves when used with the ML-L3 remote control. I don't have a remote control, so we don't need to worry about that. Multiple exposure is off. Interval timing shooting is off. So if you want to do your, if you want to set your, if you're doing nighttime photography, or you want to do some star trails, it's all built in here. So you can actually set the intervals, how many shots you want, for how long you want, and the camera will take those pictures, and then you have to assemble them in the software somewhere. So let's move out of that. We click timer active. We don't want that. Let's move back out of that. Okay. So that's the photo shooting menu number 2. I've done movie shooting menu, so I'm going to skip that one. This one is a really important, is the custom settings menu, where you want to really pay attention to what's going on in here. This really matters how your Nikon D750, or pretty much, your Nikon D810, your 800, probably most likely your D4, your D4S, majority of your full frame cameras, your 600s, your 610s, or majority are probably going to look like this. So even if you're owner of that camera, I'm sure you're familiar with this setting as well. So autofocus, AFC priority selection. If you hit the question mark, it'll tell you what each option can do. You can release, the shutter can be released even when the camera is not in focus, or if you pick focus, the shutter can only be released when the camera is in focus. I like my pictures in focus. That's just me personally. So I have AFC and AFS priority selections to fire off only when in focus. I have focus tracking with lock on off. I have photo focus point illumination off. Choose when the selected focus point will be illuminated. I have that set to manual, so that's fine. We'll keep that the same. AF point illumination, I have that on. I have focus point wraparound. So what that is if your dot and you're scrolling to the right of your dot and when you're looking through your viewfinder or screen, it'll actually wrap around. So it's kind of like in Pac-Man back in the day. If you went to the right, you'd come out at the other side. Very similar to a Pac-Man reference. Yeah, I did it. So number of focus points you could change from 51 to 11. I'll keep it on 51. Store points by orientation. I'm not even sure if I've ever even touched that. Choose separate focus points for vertical and vertical or horizontal orientations. Let's keep that off because I'm not even sure what that's doing. A9 is the built-in flash assist illuminator. It's that little flash that goes off in the front. I turn that off immediately because I don't like it. I think it's distracting. I'm sure it has a place in the world, but it doesn't have a place in my photography world, so we'll just move on from there. Your ISO sensitivity step value, I have it at a third. Same thing for steps, EV steps for exposure control. I have that for a third. Easy exposure compensation, I have set to off. Choose on or on auto reset to adjust exposure compensation without using the exposure compensation button. Well, that's good to use, but I'm not using it. Matrix metering, you have face detection on or face detection off. I keep it on off. Center weighted area, you can choose up to 20. What this is choose the size of the area given to most weight in the center weighted. If a non-CPU lens is attached, the size of the area is a fixed 12 millimeters. So we'll just keep it exactly where it stands. Fine-tuned optimal exposure. Question mark. Customize the optional exposure for each metering method. This adjustment is not reset when a 2-button reset is performed. Okay, good to know. That's the 2-button reset is when you hold down at the green buttons, the ISO, and the exposure compensation button up here. Shutter release button, AE-L, I have set to off. So we will keep it on off for now. Standby timer I have set to 1 minute, but you can set the standby timer for 1 minute. The self timer, some cool features here. You can set it for 10 seconds, 20 seconds. I'll keep it for 10. Then you can choose to pick the number of shots. You can choose 5, 6, whatever you want to do. I think you can go up to 9. So it'll do 9 shots with interval of 1 second between. Let's give it 3 seconds. So now you have the self timer going off in 10 seconds. The number of shots, it's going to happen at 5, and then you're going to get 3 seconds in between those 5 shots. Awesome. Good to have. We like it. We like it. We like it. So timers, we're going to go into monitor off delay, remote on duration. Here's a good thing, the pitch of the beep, I have set to 2, so you can change the pitch. I'm kind of a fan of the high pitch. Who's high pitch? High pitch. Who's high pitch? Anyway, we'll keep it on high. Move on from there. Hope you got that joke. Continuous low speed. I don't ever understand why I would need to, adjust this at all. If I'm in continuous low up top here, 3 frames a second. Whoopity-doo. Let's change it to 6. Sure, why not? Max continuous release. We'll keep that 100. Choose the maximum number of shots that can be taken in a single burst in continuous release mode. Oh, well and good. Sure, 100. That sounds great. Exposure delay mode is off. Flash warning is off. File number sequence is on. Viewfinder grid display is off. If you want to turn on the grid, like your rule of thirds inside the grid, that's where you do that, is in D7. Easy ISO I have set to off. If on is selected, ISO sensitivity can be adjusted by rotating a command dial. That's awesome. Information display is on auto. LCD illumination is on. The battery grip, which is unavailable at this time. The MD D16. When using AA size, well, I'm not going to read this to you guys, but You guys can check it out for yourself as far as the battery type. Battery order MD D16 flash sync. Speed 200th of a second. Flash shutter speed 1/60th. Flash control for built-in flash. Exposure compensation for flash. Monitoring flash is off. Auto bracketing flash. Bracketing order. Oh, so let's go into controls. So here we go. F, controls, very important. OK button. So with the OK button, which obviously is this right here, we can choose the playback mode. We can choose zoom on to off, and then we choose 1:1. What that's going to do is, if we're looking at a picture, let's see if we can we took a picture there. So now if I hit OK, it's zoomed in 1:1. So if you hit OK, so you can hit OK and it'll go in and out. So how I did that was by hitting Control, OK button, playback mode, zoom on and off, 1:1. So you take a picture, instead of scrolling in, you can actually go 1:1 right away, which is a nice feature for me when I'm looking at pictures pretty fast. Assign the function button, which everybody knows the function button's in the front. It's a little red. I have that set to autofocus as well, just in case my finger back here gets tired. I could use the front dial, the front function button to do the focusing as well. So that's how I prefer it. But you guys can do what you like. You have all these options, but I like to use it as focus. The preview button, we all know that this button is the button up top next to the lens up here. I have it set to turn the flash off, but again, you could change it to do. You could change it. You make the shoot to raw, matrix metering, center weight metering, spot metering, highlight weight metering, which is that cool new metering system that they released, I believe, in the D4S and the D810, which they didn't really play up as much as I believe they should have with this camera. I think it's a beautiful metering mode to shoot in from time to time. So you guys can check it out for yourself, experiment with that metering mode. But I'll just use it to have flash off when I'm shooting flash. If I want to turn it off, that's the quick and easy way to do it. Assign the AE-L/AF/L button, which is this button here. I have that set for AF on to do the back focusing, and then so you have the release button to use dials off, slot empty, release lock, keep it on lock. I've never used this before, so you don't really need to worry about that. Assign movie record button, which is awesome. So what this means is that now I have it set to ISO, which means that movie record button is here, is now my ISO button. So if I hit the ISO button, so now I could change ISO because I'm using the record button to control my ISO. How beautiful is that? So when you're shooting, now you have all your controls right from here. You have your shutter speed, your aperture, and your ISO all right here, which is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful option to have. So I have the assign movie record button to ISO to be my ISO button. Anything else down here of importance? Yes. Assign the function button. This is how you set your power aperture on your movie record modes. So when you get your Nikon D750 and you've heard all about this wonderful power aperture, I can control the aperture when I'm shooting live. Yes, you can. So how we do that is when you're in G1, power aperture, you set to open, and then you're going to use the preview button to close. So you choose that. So now your aperture buttons are your preview and your function are controlling your aperture in the front of your camera, which is awesome, which we love that. Again, the assign AE/L AF/L button, is going to be your back focus button, and your assign shutter button is set to record. So I actually have the shutter button to be my record button and not use the little red button that I have sometimes trouble fumbling around with. So you can choose that to record movies, which is great to have. Okay, and that moves us through the entire menu system through custom settings menu. Down here in the wrench is where you format your memory cards. There's a quick tip on that as well. If you want to format your memory card when you're in the info screen, see the red here and the red here. Format. If you hold these buttons down at the same time, let's say format, give it a quick punch, and now your card is formatted. Now there's no images on the camera. So that's great. Save user settings, which I'll never use. You mean you can obviously set user settings if you like. This is where you can reset the user settings, monitor brightness. You can go up and down. I kind of enjoy leaving it at 0 so it doesn't play with my exposure and what I think my exposure looks like. Color balance, I keep the basic. We'll keep it right there. This is where you can clean your image sensor. You can clean now or clean at startup and shutdown. It's actually cleaning right now. It's cleaning the image sensor. Please wait. Your call is very important to us. Thank you. Done. So let's go back out of this. Hit the menu button. Lock mirror up for cleaning. Very important if you do your own cleaning. I did the cleanings on my D800. Nerve-wracking, but I did do it. So if you do it, make sure you watch enough YouTube videos on how to do it. My recommendation is to not do it, but you can do what you like. Don't take my word for it. Bring it to a professional and have them do it. Image dust off, ref photo. Never touched that before in my life. Flicker reduction is set to auto. We'll see if there's a reduce flicker under fluorescent or mercury vaping. Choose a frequency. Oh, that's good to know. Yeah. So I guess if if you're using that type of lighting and you want to have the flicker reduction set, that's pretty cool to have. Time and date. We know how to do that. As soon as you turn your camera on, it's going to make you do that anyway. Language. Obviously, we're in English. Auto image rotation is set to on, which I like. When your image comes in the, horizontal or vertical, you can actually view it. Battery info. It says charge 70%, number of shots 405. Battery age 0. Well, happy birthday, battery. Image comment off, and the copyright information where you can put your name or anything you like into this, which is a pretty cool feature to have. And that about wraps us. Oh, virtual horizon, which is good to have, which you can use in when you're shooting in live view. You can make when you're on a tripod to make sure everything is even, which we like to have. That's pretty cool. Non-CPU lens data, I never mess with that. AF fine tune, never mess with that. HDMI, if you want to put out, I guess you can put out, how you want the HDMI and the external to put out. I'll keep it on auto for now because I do not record to an external device as of right now. Location data. Oh, Wi-Fi. So here is a very cool feature of the Nikon D750. Once you have downloaded the app from either, I guess, the Google Play Store or iTunes, you can set to connect. So let's enable that. Connection is on, and you'll see right away at the top of the camera the little traditional Wi-Fi is blinking, let you know, hey, we're connected. So now we're sharing our images with your iPhone, your Android, what have you. So that is a cool thing to have. So let's turn that off, because I'm not doing that right now. All right, so menu, bouncing out of that. Conformity marking, I'm not even sure what that means, but let's click it anyway. Looks too confusing. Not messing with that. So the firmware version, and we'll wrap it up for today. And this video is a little bit longer than most, but I wanted to give you a rundown of all the features and options that are actually in this bad boy. So hopefully when you get yours, you don't have to read the manual. You can just refer to this video and go from here. So we're currently, as of now, we're 1.0 and 2.005. And we're going to click done, and then we'll move out of here so you guys can see the top of the screen. It's a little bit smaller than I'm used to in the Nikon D800 and D810, but hey, I love this camera. This camera's pretty awesome. So thank you guys for watching. It's Anthony from AMG 4K. This was my man Santa. He was chilling the whole time watching. So if you guys can like the video, that'd be great. Subscribe, that'd be great. I'll talk to everybody very soon. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.